Welcome guys, this is Tech Knowledge Made Basic. In this tutorial I'm going to go over more of the features of tiles and groups of tiles, starting with actually naming a group of tiles. What I'm going to do, since my screen now has 4 groups, I have one group here to the right, another group, and another group. And the way I can tell is with the spacing in between the tiles, I have the larger, wider gap spacing. That lets me know that there's 4 different groups on my start screen. But right now it looks just a bit chaotic. I have tiles everywhere, but there's really no structure or order to them. But I have 4 tiles here that are associated with the same thing, which is the Microsoft Office suite. What we can do is name this group of tiles, give it a specific name. What we're going to do is take our pointer and go all the way to the bottom right screen, and we're going to do a left click on this little minus sign. I know it's kind of hard to see, but it's all the way on the bottom right corner of the screen. Do a left click, and that's going to engage something called a Semantic Zoom. So it's going to zoom out and let you see everything within your start screen. So if you had just a lot of different groups, this Semantic Zoom allows you to actually see all your groups in one screen. But what we want to do here is actually name just that specific group. So in order to do that, we're going to have to do a right click on our mouse. So go ahead and do a right click. You're going to see the little check mark. It's going to engage this down here where it says name group. Do a left click over that, and let's name that group just simply Microsoft Office. So once we have that named, we'll go ahead and do a left click over name, and that's going to put the Microsoft Office name over that specific group. And just to see that, we'll go ahead and do a left click over those tiles, and as you can see, now we have some order to the start screen. We have these group of tiles here called Microsoft Office. Let's go ahead and name some more groups. One thing I forgot to mention in my other tutorial was that these specific tiles here come by default on every Windows 8 computer. So you have these tiles and these tiles. These 2 groups come by default. And the tiles over here to the right will be specific to whatever type of computer you have, and it's going to be specific to brands. So whether you have an HP, Toshiba, Lenovo, you're probably going to see apps associated with that brand here on the right hand side. So they're going to be different from Windows 8 to Windows 8 PCs. But what we're going to do is go ahead and name this default 1 and default 2, just to give you some more examples. So again, we take our pointer, go all the way to the bottom right, do a left click, engage our Semantic Zoom, and we're going to do a right click over the first group and do a left click here down at the bottom, just name it default 1, click name, and I want to name the next group, so do a right click again, name it default 2. Now while we're here, let's go ahead and name all our groups. So we have one other group, and these tiles are really random. I mean, none of them really pertain to one another, so we'll just name it random. So we'll just go ahead and do a right click again, left click down here, just name it random. Go ahead and click name, and just click on do a left click on any of the sets of the groups. And as you can see now, I have more structure to my start screen. I have one group that's called default 1, another group called default 2, I have one called random, and Microsoft Office. So I at least know somewhat as to what those groups are pertaining to. Now, one other thing you can do, let's just say I want this group placed over here in between default 2 and random. I don't like it all the way here to the right. So another feature we could do is engage our Semantic Zoom again all the way in the bottom right corner, do a left click on that little minus sign, and once we're in the Semantic Zoom, we'll go ahead and do a left click over that group, and as you can see, it kind of highlights, puts a square, it's kind of hard to see, over the Microsoft Office group, and do a left click, but hold it like if you're rearranging a tile. And just like rearranging a tile, we'll go ahead and put it in between default 2 and random, drop it, so let go of your left click, and now we'll just click on one of those groups, and you can see we can even rearrange the groups within the start screen. So I took Microsoft Office all the way from the right and put it in between here, because to me that just looks awesome. It just looks way better. So now, I kind of showed you how to rearrange different things within the start screen, also how to name the different groups, just to give yourself a little bit more structure, so you're not, feeling like your screen is just everywhere. So that's just more structure to it, is what it is. Another thing you could do, just some quick tips on the tiles, is you can make them smaller or larger. And if I want to make this sports tile here smaller, I can go ahead and just do a right click over it. It's going to engage these things down here, and I'll go ahead and do a left click over smaller, and it's going to make that tile smaller. I can go ahead and make it larger by doing the same thing, doing a right click and clicking larger, left click larger, and make it larger again. So, and One thing you can also do, some people like the live tiles, some people don't, and let's just say you're one of those that just can't stand all the information constantly flashing in your face. You're like, this is just I can't deal with it today. So it's I just don't want to do it. So again, do a right click over the tile, and in the same options where it says smaller or larger, you can also see the option for turning live tile off or on. So let's just turn them off, because I just can't stand the constant information just flowing in my face. It just really bothered me. So there we go. So now all the live tiles are turned off. And one other thing you can do is unpin and pin. Let's just unpin this sports tile here. We'll do a right click again over it, and as you can see, it puts a check. The other option down here was to unpin from start. We'll do a left click, unpin it, and there it goes, it's gone. But now we miss it, so we want it back, because we're just constantly changing our mind. You know, one day we like it, one day we don't. Today we want it back, because we want to know about our sports. One thing you can do to get it back is go ahead and take your pointer all the way to the top right corner. Make sure to go to the top right corner. That engages something on the right side of the screen called charms. So if you take your pointer all the way to the top right and just scroll down, just go down with your mouse, what we want to do is engage our charms, because we want to go to search. We want to do a left click on search, and it's going to bring us to our app screen, where we can go ahead and repin that specific tile back on the start screen. So it was the sports one. We'll go ahead and look for the sports tile. Where are you? There you are. We do a right click over it, and there it is, pin to start. We'll do a left click over pin to start, and we'll go back all the way to the top right, engage our charms again. This time we'll click on the start button. We'll do a left click, take us back to the start screen. And what that did is that put the sports tile back on the start screen, but all the way back to the right, just in its own far out random group. So let's go ahead and move it back to where it needs to go. Do a left click, hold it, drag it all the way back to where it was, let it go, and there we go. So that's, you know, different ways on sizing your tiles, turning on your tiles on and off, also unpinning and pinning it back. And just to show you another example, let's go ahead and remove Excel. We'll do again a right click over it, unpin, go back to our search by engaging our charms, do a left click on search, and let's scroll till we see the Excel app. And there it is. We do a right click again, and again do a left click over pin to start. It's going to put it right back. But like I said earlier, we'll do a left click on the start button to take us back to the start screen. It just puts it off by itself, so we're going to have to do a left click to drag it right back to where it goes. So there you go. We talked about giving your start screen more structure. You know, we named the different groups. But one thing you can also do, maybe you don't like the name, maybe it's a week later and you're just tired of seeing that default word, we can go ahead and remove that. One way to do it is, again, by engaging your Semantic Zoom, doing a left click over that minus sign in the bottom right hand corner, and doing a right click over that specific group, which engages the name group down at the bottom. Do a left click, hit that X just to delete the default one name, and make sure to click on name, do a left click on name, and that's going to take it off. We'll just do a left click over that group. As you can see, it's no longer given a name. That specific group does not have a name anymore. So those are just different ways to give your start screen more structure. You know, I showed you how to name a specific group, also how to take the name off, also how to rearrange groups around, and to turn your tiles on and off. And you can also unpin and pin as much as you like with different apps on your computer. Well, guys, I do thank you for watching. I appreciate your time. That's going to be all for today.